holiday cash? Here's where to get it. MyBookie.ag is the place to score serious cash on your sports predictions. There are a lot of football, basketball, and hockey games you can score big every day. Man up, play like the pros. The money line, side, or total, MyBookie.ag is your hookup for all your betting with all the lines and super fast payouts. Join now and MyBookie.ag will match your deposit with up to a 50% bonus. Use promo code MM50 to activate the order. Don't leave the money on the table. MyBookie.ag, promo code MM50, and your first deposit is matched up to 50%. Play where the pros play because they get paid. MyBookie.ag.
Glad you're with us. Hope you're having a good Tuesday. Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred will join us in about 30 minutes. Lots to get into with him about what a great postseason it was and what changes might be coming for the 2018 season in light of some of the things that we saw this past regular season with the issue of netting in baseball games and maybe the pace of play that they're trying to pick up a little bit. So,
again, it's all not about the time of game. Yep. It's the pace of play and how are they going to put the pitch clock out there and what kind of effect would that have on pitchers and everything. So more than a few things to go over with Rob.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to that. In just a few minutes, Adrian Wojnarowski will join us. So much to get into in the NBA. And, he and Adam Schefter just dropping bombs all the time, left and right, news. We'll get into that with Derek Rose and the David Fisdale firing and everything else. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests will join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You want to tweet us at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, at Golic and Wingo. We've had some great ones about the donuts and pizza already, and we'll get into those a little later. But let's start with the Monday night game. The Baltimore Ravens defense once again came to the rescue against the Tom Savage-led Houston Texans on Monday night. They win the game 23-16. It started off really bad for that Ravens defense.
Yep.
There were a couple of penalties on that first drive, but it was a 90-yard touchdown drive for the Texans. I think that was the first time, 3 years, you'd had a 90-yard touchdown drive against that Ravens defense. And then they had stopped the Ravens again. It looked like they were going to get the ball and go for a second score, and then Sam Cook comes up with the unbelievable throw.
The punter, threw a great throw to a receiver that was somewhat a gunner at this point that was somewhat covered. He kind of threw him open
Chris Moore,
to the inside. It was a nice job, and then they took advantage from there. Ravens got 3 turnovers of their own.
Right?
Terrell Suggs, Terrell Suggs got a couple of sacks, 124 for his career.
Yep.
Which may be coming to an end or may be coming to an end in Baltimore. We'll see about that. But this is a strong defensive unit that will be the reason this team makes the playoffs if they do.
Absolutely. Look, the defense already has 3 shutouts on the season. Yeah. When they had that great run in 2000 with that unbelievable defense led by Ray Lewis and everybody else, they had 4 that year. But, the question always has become, and really it's become this question since they paid him. Look, Joe Flacco had the unbelievable run in the playoffs. It started with the win over Andrew Luck and the Colts, and then the Hail Mary against Denver, and the Broncos there where he hit Jacoby Jones for the touchdown to tie it. They win it in overtime. And then he has the great game in the AFC Championship game, and then the Super Bowl as well. I think it was 13 touchdown passes, no interceptions during that playoff run. He gets the big contract. And since then, he hasn't been the same guy. Look, he was great up until he got paid. He was a part of the offense, and ever since his rookie year. They've only made the playoffs one time, by the way, since that. From 2008, which I think was his rookie year, 2009, they made it every year up through 2012, and then they've only made it once since. And, statistically, he hasn't been the same guy. He has the worst touchdown-to-interception ratio in the NFL over that time frame, over any quarterback that has played more than one season. And the question then becomes, do they have enough offense to get things going? Should they make the playoffs? Right now, they are the 6th seed in the AFC. Our ESPN NFL front office insider, Louis Riddick, think the Ravens do not have enough on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to making a run in the postseason.
I still just wonder if, because of how inept this offense can be, whether it be running the ball or throwing the football, can the defense withstand the kind of pressure that's going to be put on them, and can the special teams continue to come up with plays of the magnitude that they're going to need in order to deal with the high-powered players in the AFC and get to ultimately where Baltimore expects to be, which is in the Super Bowl. That's the problem. I think maybe they get in, and if they do, I just think they're going to get bounced pretty quickly because the offense is just that limited. And I don't see the passing game improving that much over the next month.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. It's a team right now with the lowest, I think they're 164 yards a game passing. Flacco is, which would coincide with Flacco, yards per attempt, the lowest in the league. They're just, for a big quarterback like that can rifle it down the field, he's not doing that. And I agree with Lewis on that, as I don't see them all of a sudden just starting to do it successfully. So this is a team that control the ball as much as you can on offense. Don't turn it over, which he has 9 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. So he's turning it over more than he's getting it in the end zone and putting more pressure on that defense.
He is, and that was the one thing that was sort of carrying them. Joe Flacco could always throw that deep, pretty ball.
Right. Yep.
And the bunch of receivers that he's had over the years, whether it was Jacoby Jones or Torrey Smith, that could go get it. They thought they had that in Mike Wallace this year, who has been that guy before in Pittsburgh, a little bit in Miami and Minnesota, not as much. He just hasn't become that guy for them here. Right. And they've missed on some draft picks at the wide receiver position
absolutely
as well.
Right. Yeah.
So that hasn't been clicking, and if that's not working, you have to rely on a decent running game. That's gotten a little better with the kid Alex Collins that Seattle drafted out of Arkansas, and they picked up right before the
but not a big enough threat to worry about. Their offense is really no real threat at this point.
Well, they got Danny Woodhead back. He went out in the game 1 with that torn hamstring. Hopefully, he'll provide a little bit of a spark. But again, he's not a deep threat.
No,
he's a chain mover that's going to work underneath.
3rd and 4, he'll get you 5.
Exactly,
I mean, that's what he's going to do.
So they need to find that guy that can stretch the defense, and that's when Joe's at his best. When Joe's not at his best is when he's running, except for that 25-yard run to seal the game.
How about that? It was a designed run. It was only designed run of the year, goes 25 yards and ices it.
Well, that's the thing, too. Like, Joe has had that knee when he tore his ACL a couple of years ago. Whenever he slides, that knee brace pops off. It happens so often.
Not the prettiest thing in the world.
He's got to figure out a different way to slide to avoid that happening. Okay, so we'll see what happens with Baltimore going forward. They were on the winning side on Monday night, but now it's time for Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So that was the winning side. Joe Flacco, they got the win. They're 6-5. They're in the 6th seed. This loss really hurt the Houston Texans. They're now at 4-7, and they have 2 teams in that division at 7-4. So the odds of them winning, they have to win out and hope a lot of things happen to win that division for a 3rd straight year, which, by the way, could still happen because they won the last 2 years at 9-7.
Exactly right.
So it's possible, but they need to get more consistent on offense. Tom Savage obviously in for the injured Deshaun Watson. He looked good early, but threw the interception that sealed the fate of the Texans with just about 2 minutes left. And this was Tom Savage's post-game press conference in its entirety.
No one's here.
Good?
No questions?
Good. Great.
And that was it.
He literally, for those listening on radio, he walked up to the podium. You heard in the background, some I'm sure from the PR.
He said, first of all, he said, "We good?" And someone in PR said,
"There's no one here." He looked up. I don't know why he couldn't see that when he was walking to the podium, but he looked up, saw no one was there, and then said, "Okay," turned around and walked off.
Yeah. Well,
nobody was there.
Good for him. If no one's there, I'm not sticking around. There was that great shot a few years ago. I think it was Blaine Gabbert at a press conference in a game in San Francisco, and he stood there for like 5 minutes waiting for someone to come in, and nobody came in.
Oh, man, just go, man. So, Savage was out. He was out. I don't blame him one bit. So.
It was funny. It was funny and very sort of emblematic of the problems they have at the quarterback position without Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, listen, so you can survive some injuries, and then once you get past the road a little bit, I mean, you just don't have enough.
Yeah.
Fuller was out. He comes back, scores touchdowns. He's out again. Obviously, your rookie of the year, Deshaun Watson, is out. And then all the missing on defense of Merciless and Watt. I like what they're doing with Clowney. They're moving him all over the place and really letting him kind of use his athletic ability, and it's showing, no doubt about it. But they just lost the firepower they had offensively and defensively.
And to that point about Clowney, he was so confused his rookie year because they moved him all over the place. Then they sort of tried to set him in one place, and last year it really clicked in.
Right.
Now that he's got that, you can tell how much more comfortable he
Without
is.
Question.
Going forward and getting all that right. Okay, so that was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks, although a very brief Straight Talk from Tom Savage.
Very brief.
But perhaps the straightest of
that
talk.
Was great.
All right, so we'll make the seamless transition from Tom Savage's press conference to Woj bombs from the NBA as NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski joins us now here. Adrian, thanks for being on the show. Congratulations on being with us. It's great to have you on the show.
Guys, thanks for having me. Congratulations on the new show.
Yeah, 2 days in a row.
Yeah,
so,
we're still here.
We're setting a record.
Yeah.
Lots to get into, but let's start with the firing of David Fizdale, because this was a guy who was universally praised last year for doing a great job in Memphis, getting that team focused and really standing up for his team in the epic Take That for Data press conference after one of the games where they didn't get any calls and the Spurs got all the calls. How did it unravel this quickly?
The relationship with Marc Gasol, who is, along with Mike Connolly, their franchise player in Memphis. And this started last year, and I think the winning last year, winning 43 games in the regular season, taking the Spurs to 6 games, a really hard-fought 6-game series, camouflaged a lot of this.
Right.
But all of a sudden, Connolly goes out, you lose 8 straight, you lose 11 of 13, and then you saw it come to a head on Sunday night when Fizdale benched Gasol in the fourth quarter. You saw Gasol's very public emotions afterward, and I think it was no accident that Fizz made that decision on Sunday night to bench him. I think he was pushing for some kind of a resolution here, and as much as frustrated as Gasol was, I think playing for Fizz, I think Fizz was frustrated about being able to go forward with a player who he was having a tough time to coach and a roster that was difficult. And now Fizz gets out, with his record intact, with his reputation still strong, and he'll get a chance to be a head coach again.
So do you think there was really no effort on either side of that from Gasol or Fizdale to try and smooth things over? I mean, that's kind of what I was inferring a little bit. Like Fizz was like, no, this is where I am, and Mark was like, well, we know players can run the league.
Yeah, and I think that the idea that this all just started Sunday night is not the case. That was the ending point. This has been going on almost since this time last year, pretty early.
Do we know what the reasons are?
I think, some of it is style of play. Marc Gasol has been part of that grit and grind, a very different style of basketball than anybody else is playing in the NBA. And you've seen Fizz try to go at times to try to be a little more athletic on the court, play a little faster. You saw it even in that comeback Sunday night where he was playing their bench and a different kind of lineup. That's part of it. I think personality, styles, sometimes guys don't connect. And I will say this, too. This was not something Gasol asked for. But it
was a reaction in one level to what was going on with him.
Management made a decision. Yeah. Management and ownership was worried about this, too, that there'd come a point here where Gasol would possibly ask to be moved, and they weren't going to do that. And, there's people who look at that Memphis roster and say, should they just reboot it? And this is a team that, if they're rebuilding and they have a really bad team on the floor, they worry about, is anybody in that arena? Can we exist in this market? They've lost a lot of money last few years. So they made a decision. They're going forward with Marc Gasol and Mike Conley.
All right, so that's sort of the micro view here as Woj joins us in studio giving the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contract. Let's go macro here. And we talked about this earlier on in the show. The NBA is the league where it certainly seems like the players have more control than any other of the big four sports. Is that good for the game that they have this much control?
It's not new. I mean, it's always been this way. I mean, go back to Magic Johnson, Paul Westhead that led. I mean, we go back. It's always been this way because it just is. And so one player can make such an impact in basketball more than any other sport, with the exception of maybe the quarterback in football. One player in basketball, 2 players in basketball. Think of what Gasol and Conley have meant to that Memphis organization. Gasol grew up in Memphis. He went to high school there. He was traded. They traded for him in a deal for his brother. And in a lot of ways, that franchise has existed and prospered because of Marc Gasol. He is a pillar there. And as popular as Fizz was and as great of a start, I mean, not only did Fizz get off to a great 43 wins last year, early this season, they beat Golden State. Right. They beat Houston twice before the injuries. But that's the NBA, and players, whether it's free agency now, players willing to do deals on doing shorter contracts to control situations on teams, they have the power and they know how to use it more than any other sport.
And listen, one guy that understands that is LeBron James, and you saw his tweet. He wanted an explanation of what it is. Understand the relationship. Fizdale was in Miami for 2 of the titles, was an assistant coach when LeBron was down there. So they have a relationship, but I think LeBron, as well as all players, kind of know where the power lies.
Yeah, I mean, there were people asking for an explanation when David Blatt was fired.
It's exactly right. So let's go to the Cavs, who have won 8 in a row. LeBron has a big game last night against the 76ers, and they bring in players like Dwayne Wade and Derrick Rose to try and help, especially in the playoffs. The Derrick Rose thing has just imploded with his missing time with his ankle. Now he leaves the team, is not sure what his future is going to be. Where is that situation, and what led up to that?
Well, Rose has been in contact, I'm told, with Kobe Altman, Cleveland's GM, and they have talked, and they've been talking and communicating. I think the question within that organization right now is, the conversation that's gone on is, if he does want to come back, if he wants to be a part of this again, and he is away from the team, he has the ankle injury, it's not as if he could be playing now anyway, can they count on him? I mean, This happened in a different form in a briefer window last year with the Knicks, where he just disappeared one day, and you talk to people around him at the time, and Derek was asking the same questions. I want to keep doing this. They've got to be able to count on him, and in a locker room, a team has to know that when they get into playoffs and they get in big spots, can we count on him? Emotionally, not just physically. The injuries are part of it, and he has had a lot of injuries, and he hasn't been able to stay on the floor. That's part of it. But what really can't be part of a team is our backup point guard going to want to play? Is he going to show up? And I think those are the conversations that have been going on in the locker room, coaching staff, front office, about, do we integrate him back into the team if he wants to, especially with they're getting closer and closer now to Isaiah Thomas's return. The team had put a January 1 return date, which I think they were trying to be generous with, but I think there's a lot of momentum here that you'll see him at some point in December, barring any setbacks.
Well, and then you add in the fact that with Rose gone, they've won 8 straight. They've sort of found their stride. So it seems like, you know how it is in the NFL. If you're not here, I can't think about you. I can't worry about you, whether it's here, whatever. Right. I got to put blinders on. It seems like this team, despite the best intentions of wanting Derrick Rose, have said, look, if you can do this, great. But right now, this is where we are. We're looking at the guys we got, and Isaiah's coming back. That's what we're focusing on. What has been the biggest turnaround for them so far in this season? Because they looked lost for the first 10 games of the season.
I mean, effort. Yeah. Effort.
That's amazing, isn't it? Effort.
I think part of it, and I remember talking to some people in Golden State about this, in Cleveland, the schedule this season, when all of a sudden you're playing regular season games well before Halloween, I just think players' body clocks, you're sort of used to opening night being Halloween, and I just think you could say the regular season started, but guys who've been playing into June every year, Cleveland and Golden State both 3 straight years in the finals, I just think it took a while for guys to get in gear, and now you're seeing Cleveland, they're playing much better, and LeBron, missed a lot of training camp, wasn't in great shape, and then you've seen him now playing.
He's been unreal.
Yeah, he has. Yeah. And again, their next 10-game stretch, according to our BPI, is the easiest 10-game stretch of the season for him. 7 home games, 7 teams with losing records, so we'll see where that goes. We had the commissioner, Adam Silver, on yesterday, and we were talking about the one-and-done rule, which is, again, is an NBA rule, but he and Michelle Roberts spoke at separate times with the commission for the NCAA about that, and he knows it's going to have to, as he said, get worked out with her and the union on where that may go. Where do you think that will go?
I think it's going to be really interesting, Mike, because Adam has been very clear for a while now that he'd like to see the one and done go. I don't know that there's as much support around the league for that as he has, or in the union. They have to negotiate this, as you said, with the Players Association. And in what form would this take? I mean, there's different conversations going on within the league about, okay, maybe we'd let the high school players in again, but then you'd have to stay for 2 years in college. A little bit like baseball. I think baseball is a little bit
3
different.
Years.
3 years.
If you go in, you can go out of high school, but if you go to college, you have to stay for 3.
But I don't, ultimately Adam can go, he needs some support for this. And you talk to people around the league, and there's not a great appetite in the NBA among executives to go back into high school gyms again. And I think what Adam looks at it is a way to potentially really beef up their minor league. It's called the G League now.
Right.
To beef that up.
Yes. Been through a lot
I
of
have a hard
names
time
over there.
calling it the G League. It's the D League. But they want, the idea that possibly you could have, you watched that tournament in Portland the other night, some great college games.
Absolutely.
To see some of those guys in minor league franchises as NBA teams own it, that they think can help them fill gyms and make some money on the minor league team and get players in the NBA's development system sooner than college basketball, where player development's hit and miss at some places. So there's going to be a lot more conversation about it. And Adam, I think, I don't want to say he's going in alone, but I think he still has some selling to do with his owners, with his executives.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because sometimes you see all those high school players and some come out and they think they're ready and they're just not ready. Then you have the LeBrons and Kobes and the Moses Malones that are absolutely
very few
not.
are. And
yeah.
It's really more of, do we want them in our development system,
right,
or do we want them in the college system? And you're seeing these academies the NBA is putting together all over the world. And Adam said it yesterday. He really is intrigued by that European model, and there is something to that.
Mm-hmm. We'll see how that shakes out going forward. Woj, as always, we appreciate
you
being on the show.
Holiday cash. Here's where to get it. MyBookie.ag is the place to score serious cash in your sports predictions. There are a lot of football, basketball, and hockey games you can score big every day. Man up, play like the pros. The money line, side, or total, MyBookie.ag is your hookup for all your betting with all the lines and super fast payouts. Join now and MyBookie.ag will match your deposit with up to a 50% bonus. Use promo code MM50 to activate the order. Don't leave the money on the table. MyBookie.ag, promo code MM50, and your first deposit is matched up to 50%. Play where the pros play because they get paid. MyBookie.ag.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
By the way, we told you Rob Manfred was going to join us. The commissioner of baseball has had to reschedule.
Right.
So he will join us in the 9:30 hour or the final hour of the
show. An hour from now.
Yes, an hour from now. You've done this before.
There are some that when they say they're going to do that way, say, we don't need you.
No.
Don't worry about it.
We want Rob.
We want the commissioner.
We will
so if he has to reschedule, we will accommodate and reschedule.
Right, we will absolutely do that. So he'll join us in the final hour of the show, an hour from now, 9:30 in the East. You can count backwards on what time zone you're in.
There you go.
Figure it out from there. I'm not even getting into Hawaii and what might be happening out there.
Please don't.
No, I'm doing that in February.
No.
So enjoy your February here in Bristol.
Yeah, whatever.
We'll move on. Oh, you're going to Africa in March.
South Africa, absolutely.
That's very cool.
Swimming with the sharks.
Yeah, you're going to do it in the cage or out of the cage?
There's plenty of us that are thinking about our family's going, and our friends at Perianos are going.
I know the Perianos
I know
very
you
well.
do. Who doesn't know Mike Perianos?
That's a separate issue.
There's plenty of people that want to go in the cage. Sydney and I are talking about free diving.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
so I'll be talking about doing the show solo.
Possibly, or with my son, because Mike's not even going in the cage.
He's not even going in the cage?
Not even going in the cage.
How is he not going in the cage?
I don't know. There are some that aren't going to go in the cage. I don't know if this is a place where you can free dive. I'm not sure. Yeah. We're going to look into it because that's something Sid and I wanted to do.
You're willing to free dive with a great white shark?
Sitting here right now, yes, I'm saying that.
Yeah, this all sounds good from a comfy studio in Bristol,
easy.
Connecticut.
Yes, very easy to say, yeah, I'm going to do it until they say, okay, hey, jump on in. See those fins swimming around? Just dive in between them.
Yeah, let me explain. Like, we were at a party and someone said, hey, will you want to rappel off this building for a very charitable cause?
Right.
I was like, yeah, no problem.
And then you had to do it.
And then I had to do it. And I'm standing over the edge of the building, and they say, jump out. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, you want me to
do this?
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Now, eventually I did it, but it's easy to say that now.
Yeah. So right now I am free diving with the largest great white sharks on the face of the earth.
The apex predator.
That's what I'm saying right now.
Good for you.
That's what I'm saying.
Congratulations.
And I'm only going down there with a knife in my teeth.
And I'll miss you. I just want you to know that. You will be missed. So, all right, that's what you're going to do in March.
Yeah.
Presumably, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Speaking of cages, it felt like a steel cage grudge match between Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree on Sunday. Mm-hmm. The 2-game suspensions handed down pretty harsh. And by the way, this leads us to something that our own Louis Riddick brought up that we talked about a little bit yesterday when we made an appearance on First Take about the lack of accountability from some of the players.
The league right now is, without a doubt, suffering from an image crisis. I think the league understands that. There's a much bigger picture to be concerned about here. And players need to be more aware about the environment right now and the climate that's going on, although they aren't.
Yeah.
You're right. It's a look-at-me world. It's about what's good for me. How can I be the tough guy? How can I get more clicks on Instagram and Twitter? How can people be talking about me? No one in that whole fiasco was worrying about what does it do to the Raiders as far as their playoff hopes. What does it do to the Broncos as far as trying to get themselves out of right now, which is a tremendously negative downslide? And I think right now the league is trying to say, you know what, enough of all this. We have enough problems to not have to deal with this image, and now people talking about this. We're going to send you a message.
Yeah.
Well, that's the interesting thing here, because I'm not sure, and I could be totally wrong, and I don't follow Aqib Talib or Michael Crabtree on Instagram, but to me, that wasn't about a look. That was just, there was bad blood between
There was
those
bad
two
blood.
guys.
And listen, I'll continue to say it. I actually got a tweet from someone yesterday when I talked about on this show, when we went on First Take. I was talking to people on Twitter about it when it happened in the game. And I said, listen, it's selfishness by these two players. They're on their personal agendas, and then they get thrown out of the game. And I gave you stats before of the QB rating of 99 that Derek Carr has throwing to Michael Crabtree in the red zone. Well, guess what he's not doing for that game, which they were 3 minutes in tossed, and two more games, and how bad the pass defense is for Denver. And, oh, by the way, Aqib, your offense stinks.
Yeah.
So you need the defense, and the defense is markedly worse when you're not on the field.
Correct.
So I get a tweet from someone that said, oh, Golic, I guess you never had a chain snatch off you. Oh, yeah. So I said, that's the line we have in the NFL, huh? Is that it? Take my chain. Now it's okay to get thrown out. Now I have to be a man because I got my chain snatched and I got to throw fists and get thrown out of the game. Give me a freaking break. Grow up. Grow up. This is a tough game. It's a tough league. It's very physical. Stop the testosterone, I got to be a man crap. Okay? Because that's all this is. He took my chain last year. I'm going to take his chain again this year. Okay, I'm going to drive you out of bounds. Okay, then we're going to throw punches and we're going to fight and get tossed out. That's just garbage. Absolute garbage. So now sit your butts down. Let your teams down for 2 more games. Great job out of you. Great job out of you guys. But you know what? My God, you guys are men. You guys are respected because you're men and you stood up for yourselves. On that, okay? Great job letting your team down.
Can I?
Okay.
By the way, that was really good.
I mean, I get so sick of you're not going to disrespect me and this and that. My God, you're children.
That was really, really good. But all I can now think about from you saying that is trying to picture you wearing a chain.
I've never, I don't really wear a chain.
I just cannot imagine you in any way, shape, or form wearing a chain while you're playing the game.
I don't. But that's a term in sports I hate the most. You know, I'm a man.
Yeah.
You know, I get I'm a man. I'm a father. I'm a husband. Don't disrespect me. All that. I mean, come on. If you're letting all this get to you, and I don't mean just this situation. I'm talking about when guys retaliate and get themselves suspended. And you hear that line, well, I'm a man, you won't disrespect me. I think it's such garbage. You know what being a man is? Taking better control and not letting your teammates down. That's what's being better. Saying, you know what? I'm going to take the high road. I'm not going to do something dumb enough that gets me off the field when I can be helping my team. You want it? That, to me, is being the man part of this thing. I'm going to throw a fist. You ain't doing that to me. Come on.
Thinking about your teammates, the guys you're lining up to, thinking about the coach that's put you in a chance to,
honestly,
to win that game.
The easiest thing in the world to do is fight.
Yeah.
That's the easiest thing to do is just let yourself go and start swinging.
Yeah.
You know, what the tougher part, the smarter part, the more manly thing to do is don't screw it up for your teammates. Well, and they didn't do it here.
Well, that's the other thing, and it did lead to something we talked about earlier on the show. I think one of the greatest. Now, Adam Schefter is a prolific tweeter. He has, I think, almost 7 million followers.
Yeah.
But the tweet he put out there is the greatest. That Crabtree, in advance of this game, because Keeb did it last year and bragged about it in Oakland on January 1st, I think it was, snapping that chain off him. He knew it was going to do again, so he actually taped the chain to his body to make sure Talib wouldn't get it again, and Aqib still got it. What kind of tape was he using? Cellophane tape? What kind of tape was he using? That's what I can't figure out.
It's amazing to me. And I tell you what, you know what the league should be saying? The league should be saying to these guys, you're suspended 2 games, and when you play again, if there is one single incident with a chain and you two, you're sitting for 5 games. You're sitting for 5. I would just right now say you're sitting for X amount of games. If anything happens again along the chain, which to me, again, with these 2 guys would be amazing. You want to talk about even more lack of respect for your teammates if you actually did it again when they played one another.
Well, by the way, Adam Schefter, in following up to that great tweet, has just put out another tweet. He said, taping my mic to myself today with the hopes that Mort Report won't snatch it off.
Well, there you go. Well done.
He's doubling down.
And by the way, Ted just tweeted in, and he's right. I did wear a chain once in my life.
You did?
It's a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, well, a bet with, but not playing. That was the turnover chain.
It was a bet with Jeff Fiegels, my former teammate in Philly.
You look so happy there.
He played at the U, and his kid punts at the U. Zach, he sent me up a turnover chain. I had to wear it when they beat Notre Dame.
But, you look just thrilled in that photo.
I'm sorry. Listen, our defense in Philly,
you guys were awesome.
And pretty physical and tough.
Without
you
question.
Say?
Oh, my God.
I mean, we had guys on there that would...
Clyde Simmons, Seth Joyner, Mike Pitts, Jerome Brown.
The guys that would not only knock your head off, but would fight at the drop of a hat, right?
Yeah,
we didn't
absolutely.
have this. We didn't have this guys getting kicked out of games and suspended. We respected one another well enough to take it to a point and know not to go past that point and get yourself suspended from a game. That just aggravates me, this whole I'm a man and you're not going to disrespect me garbage.
Well, listen, this would been if these both things are upheld. There's no official list, but there's a great column by Mike Sando on ESPN.com talking about multi-game suspensions. But he references a website, Football Zebras, a database that shows only 7 incidents since 1920. 7 since 1920 that resulted in multi-game suspensions. This does not include drug or personal conduct policy. This is for things on the field. Mm-hmm. So if both of these things are upheld, it would be a significant number of games for a suspension in the NFL. We'll see how that plays out as both players are going to appeal that 2-game suspension. And if anyone anywhere has a photo of Mike Golic playing with a chain on, we have to find one.
Oh, there's no way you'll find one.
We have to find one.
There's no way you'll find one.
So the antithesis of what went on Sunday is what's supposed to be going on today. Today is #Giving Tuesday. It's the Tuesday after Thanksgiving in the U.S. It's a movement to create an international day of giving at the beginning of the Christmas and holiday season. Instead of thinking about the presents you're racking up, what you can give out. Now, coincidentally, this year, Giving Tuesday lines up with us here at ESPN with our charity that has been near and dear to our hearts, the V Foundation. And it starts V Week, which is today through December 8th. So you can join ESPN and the V Foundation in the fight against cancer. Visit v.org/donate. All donations benefit the V Foundation for Cancer Research. And for those of you that don't know, every single penny donated goes directly into research. There's no administrative costs. There's no overhead to pay. They're fully endowed for all of that. So every penny everybody gives goes directly into the research and the fight against this insidious disease of cancer. So if you are so inclined on Giving Tuesday, please consider the V Foundation as a place that you can give, vfoundation.org/donate.
I have a tweet. We were just talking about, I kind of went on a little bit of a rant.
You did. It was a good one. I enjoyed it.
Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree, and I don't regret a bit of it, the selfish act of not being disrespected and being the man and throwing fists and getting thrown out of a game 3 minutes in and now suspended 2 more games, so you're not helping your team and letting your teammates down. Rich tells me, he says, sit down. He said, kids fight on the hockey rink every day, and we seem to be cool with that.
That's not even remotely the same
That's
thing.
not even the same. If you
way to compare an apple to a car.
If you fight in hockey, which is part of the game, you go in the penalty box for 2 minutes.
Correct.
Like you do for other fouls there as well. If this had stopped with Crabtree driving Aqib Talib out of bounds and then keep driving it out of bounds and get a 15-yard penalty, then we move on. Yeah. No harm, no foul.
Yeah, I don't understand that analogy
I
at
don't
all,
either. You got kicked out of a game and 2 more games as opposed to a 2-minute penalty in a game where
or 5 for fighting, as the song is.
I mean, exactly. I mean, that's no comparison at all.
It's an accepted part of that game. It's within the structure of the game.
Exactly.
There's a vast difference. There is no part of the NFL that says, hey, yeah, you can go make haymakers, rip people's jewelry off, start a brawl that runs all over the field, it involves 37 players, and then just play.
Yeah.
No. That's not how it works.
Doesn't work
It's a
that way.
completely different dynamic.
So, sorry, Rich, I'm gonna disagree with you on that one. I'm gonna call that one apples.
You know what that is? That analogy was just weird. Speaking of weird. All right, so as we get into news of the weird, you were talking about free diving, perhaps with sharks.
Yes, I believe South Africa,
March.
our family and the Perianos, a family that you know as well
Absolutely.
in our neighborhood. We do trips together, and we're doing it in South Africa, and part of it is going to be going in the cage and dive with sharks. Sydney and I may do some free diving.
That's awesome and terrifying at the same time.
Yes, it is.
This is more terrifying.
This is Seattle. A family made an unusual discovery in the bathroom of their North Seattle apartment on Friday. This, a boa constrictor, 4 foot long, in the toilet.
No.
See, now I hate snakes. Yeah. And I keep trying to remember the rhyme that you use, whether it's poisonous or not.
Oh, yeah. One of them's poisonous.
Touches
red and black
something
and blah,
touches
blah, blah,
something
yada,
and you're
yada.
dead. Or,
no, just don't touch a snake.
Yeah, how about I see a snake and I run? I don't care what size.
Unless you're a hepatologist. Is that what a snake person is? A herpetologist?
Yeah,
like that?
herpetologist.
Yeah.
And this
not hepatitis.
This snake was removed by the Pacific Northwest herpetological. There's no way I said that right. Society.
No chance.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
So you go in the bathroom. It's now this.
Sometimes you don't look.
Sometimes you don't look. It's not a venomous snake.
So what?
But if you're a guy and you're going to the bathroom, it's a constrictor.
Well.
You know what I'm talking about?
This is my point. So he said it appears to be a ball python, a non-venomous constrictor.
Constrictor.
Okay, non-venomous is not the worst part of that sentence. Constrictor.
Understand the parts of your body that are by the toilet.
As in crushing whatever part is there.
Yeah.
No.
And we know what part is there.
No.
Could you imagine?
Yes, I am imagining. That's why this is difficult for me.
This is horrible. I can't tell you how much I would freak out.
Yeah, that's
if I saw a snake in the toilet. Where I lived in Orlando, the neighbors next door to us had an outdoor cat that might as well have been a lion. Okay. This was as tough a cat as you would ever see. And this thing, it really was.
Okay.
For an outdoor cat.
All right.
Out in Orlando, there's venomous snakes.
Yes.
And we lived right by a little lake there, and there were snakes. And this cat killed a venomous snake and just brought it to the front door and dropped it like, here's my trophy. I just killed a snake
impressive.
for you.
By the way, we got it. Red touch black, safe for Jack.
Okay.
Red touches yellow, kills a fellow.
What if it's not red or black? What if it's a different color?
Then you're on your own. Then you are on your own. By
seriously.
the way, a person who studies reptiles and amphibians is called a herpetologist. We got that right. Thank goodness. So we'll avoid snakes and the bathroom in the future. Coming up, Paul Feinbaum joining us on whether or not Alabama should deserve a spot, as well as what's going on with his alma mater, Tennessee, plus Rob Manfred. That's all ahead. Stay with us. Golic and Wingo.